Well, I'm glad you're here watching my video on YouTube. The fact is, I don't know how long this will be up, since YouTube has decided to start censoring me and pulling down my videos. But don't worry, you can watch this video on rumble.com/randpaul, where I post all of my content. Love to see you over at rumble.com.
One America's John Hines has more from Capitol Hill.
Talking about vaccines, talking about the NIH, of course, Dr. Fauci, I think, is going to be appearing before your committee here in the next few days. I understand, I gather you have written a letter to the witnesses who are going to be appearing before your committee, asking them or preparing them, suggesting that they should be sworn in, that they would give sworn testimony. I guess you've not heard from any of those witnesses saying affirmatively that they would do that. What's the situation there, sir?
The federal law says that any member of Congress can ask for people to be sworn in. And so we've asked them to voluntarily.
Including Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, we've asked them to voluntarily take the oath. We'll see what happens on Thursday. But I think they should, because there is some question about whether or not he's been telling the truth.
Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, he says that, there was no gain of function. NIH didn't fund it. But it turns out even the NIH is now admitting that, yes, they did fund research. And in that research, viruses gained function, gained lethality. So somewhere, somebody's not telling the truth here. And I think there should be repercussions. Not really just so much because that Dr. Fauci needs to be punished, but we need to make sure that we're getting the right advice that will prevent this from happening again. If this came from a lab, there's a danger this could happen again with a much more lethal virus. And this is what's being said by many different scientists, not just partisans. There's an MIT scientist by the name of Kevin Esvelt. He wrote in the Washington Post that this type of research could endanger civilization. That's how serious he thinks this is. And the Democrats haven't had one hearing to investigate this. We've not had one hearing on the origin of the virus, whether it could have come from a lab, and whether or not we should be funding gain-of-function research. Democrats have just said, we're not going to look into any of this, which I think is sort of a curious lack of curiosity, that they don't seem to be interested in the origin of the virus.
It is a crime to lie to Congress to commit that act. And I'm wondering if Dr. Fauci was sworn in the last time he appeared before your committee. Do we know?
He's not been sworn in. Some of the committees do it every time. So like Homeland Security does it every time. I don't believe he's been before Homeland Security, but he's been before the HELP Committee, the Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee that I'm on. But we have not.
What will be the arc of your questions for the good doctor when he appears before your committee, do you suppose, sir?
I'm afraid we're sort of at wit's end with trying to get the truth out of him. I don't think he's going to be honest. But he will be confronted with the contradictory information that's now come out, with NIH saying that basically, yes, they did fund research in which viruses became more dangerous. How is that not gain of function? We might try to pry that out of him. I just don't think we're going to get much out of him. But the American people need to know that he's still making bad decisions. He's still for funding research in China. As we speak, our money is still going to those labs in China. And that there's a danger of a much bigger and worse pandemic coming out. This one killed 1% of the people, 5 million people. What if the next one has 15% mortality or 50% mortality, or God forbid, a virus that kills 90% of the world? That could happen, and there's no reason for us to be creating viruses that don't exist in nature. Now, you'll see when they word it, oh, we're just looking at natural viruses and see how they behave. No, they're actually creating viruses that don't exist in nature, and I think that's a problem.
You also have, I believe, gotten together with your Kentucky colleague, Mr. Comer, and you're asking questions, I think, of the NIH. It's regarding, they changed their website, apparently. How did they change their website, and why do you suppose they may have changed that website, and what are you trying to find out?
Gain-of-function research is when you take a virus and you recombine it with another virus, you create a new virus, and maybe that new virus is more dangerous. They've taken the whole concept of gain of function, the category, the subtitle, they've taken it off of their website. It makes you wonder if they're hiding something, or makes you wonder if they're changing the definition. So Dr. Fauci can still be correct because we no longer have that definition, but it's a little bit 1984-ish. It's a little bit, down the memory hole goes the whole idea of gain of function no longer exists. And that's pretty worrisome when the government is changing its definitions in midstream.
So your legislation would actually, I think, you have legislation actually to eliminate gain-of-function research, right?
Yeah, it presented an amendment to a bill that actually passed unanimously not to fund it at all any longer in Wuhan, but we also have more generalized legislation that would say that we shouldn't be funding it here as well.
Senator Rand Paul, thank you for talking to us on One American News, sir. It's good to catch up with you.
Thank you.